Centering pass, McDavid scores! Connor McDavid wins it for Canada!
Canada victorious in an instant classic, a game-changing tournament. How the NHL builds on the breakthrough of the Four Nations. And a game-changing rule change for the New York Yankees. Facial hair finally allowed.
It's about time.
Let's go round the horn. Did you put a monkey tail on Joe DiMaggio? Jeff, did you really do that to my DiMaggio? Jordan Binnington, huge in the overtime. These saves of Austin Matthews enabling Connor McDavid to win it. How McDavid was left in space. Woo! Canadian joy, their international dominance continues. American pride in defeat. Players talked about how inspiring it all was and how the international playing field has evened a bit. The inaugural Four Nations, remember, this was a one-off idea as substitute for the lagging All-Star game. An NHL spokesperson said earlier this week there were no plans to continue it as of right now. I got a bold prediction, people. They'll revisit this tournament in the future. We'll get to that. But Bill Barnwell, you were there. Start with the game. What decided last night?
There have been two U.S. teams in this tournament, and the team that has been much better is the one with the Tkachuk brothers playing on the same line, which we did not get very much of in this game last night. Matthew Tkachuk only played about 7 minutes with an injury. Clearly tried to play hurt, testament to how tough he is and how much they care about this, but without the Tkachuks playing on the same line, the U.S. has not been anywhere near as strong. They were sloppy in this game. Too many giveaways in their own zone, giving Canada too many chances, and then in overtime, the tournament-winning opportunity. Austin Matthews, who had just been stuffed for multiple potential winners on the offensive side of the ice, doesn't track Connor McDavid, the best player on the planet, into the slot. He is wide open. It's like giving Michael Jordan a free throw to win a game with no defense. Just absolutely.
It's like giving Connor McDavid open space on the ice is what it's like. J.A. Donde, story of last night.
The story of last night is that, first of all, the beauty of hockey was on display in that it's not necessarily Canada won. They weren't gifted this because they had the better roster. They had to come up and make the big plays and the best plays. Great goaltending in overtime, and, of course, McDavid doing what he does when he finally got the opportunity. But he was invisible through a good stretch of the game. The U.S. was playing better throughout the middle stretch of this game. But it's not always about who is the best team. The reason we love the Miracle on Ice guys from 1980, Michael Ruzioni was there last night, because they were not the best team, but they outplayed the Soviets. And the U.S. outplayed the favored Canadian team for much of the game. When it came down to it, the Canadian players came through and elevated their games. But they acted like the best team. U.S. played like it.
Woody Page, around the horn to you.
Well, Bill was emphasizing about the Tkachuk brothers and how one couldn't play in most of the game. But the story inside the story, Tony Reali, is that Makar didn't play, the best defensive player in the entire league, didn't play in the first meeting, and he was back on the ice last night. There were 3 Avalanche, let me go local here, 3 Avalanche in the game. When they were on the game together, they were a fluid unit, and that led to the first goal of the game, really important, and McKinnon ended up being the MVP. So I think that's a different type of a story, but the better roster, as Jay was talking about, was Canada. The better team in overtime was the USA, but they made that one big mistake that you make in overtime, and you don't leave the best player in the world alone in the middle of the ice, right there in position to do that. So that's the story of that game.
And all of sports is local. I agree with you, Woody Page. I like your regional bent there. Bill Plaschke, story of last night.
Can I say I'm amazed and honored at these players. This is an all-star game. This is a midseason game. This is an exhibition. And they were playing their guts out. They were hitting and hard and fighting and running each other into the board. So it was unbelievable. It was the greatest midseason classic game of any sport ever. It was unbelievable. When you think about it, these guys they got to go back to their regular teams. They were playing hurt. They got back to their regular teams this weekend. That's amazing to me. But the hero was Jordan Binnington. 14 saves in third period overtime. Benny's the biggest big game goalie in the game, and he proved it again last night.
Bigger picture now. Do it again. in the years you don't have the Olympics. That's a no-brainer. No one even knew this tournament 2 weeks ago. It took over all of sports. But a secondary question, how or if the league can build on this? That's a trickier question, Jay. Any thoughts on how the NHL maximizes momentum in its second half after the Four Nations?
Well, you stumbled across this thing, and yeah, more please, run it back. That's how they build on it. You know, as soon as possible, obviously not next year, but as soon as possible, we need another one of these. Give the U.S. a shot at revenge, give Canada a chance to defend. But it's how can the leagues learn from this, right? Can the NBA do something like this? They tried to have a quasi-international versus old school versus young guys tournament. It didn't really have the intensity of this. Why not make the NBA Cup the center part of this midseason break? Why can't baseball make the World Baseball Classic its midseason classic now? And you know what? Yeah, you take away some regular season games. You're making up for it with these tournaments and just disperse the revenue from these around the league.
NHL specific, Bill Barnwell, how to maximize on this.
Build it around the players. People care about the players to an extent that I don't think they cared about them 2 weeks ago. I mean, I don't know what the Senators' TV ratings were for playoff games in the U.S. I would expect if you get Brady Tkachuk in a playoff game on national television, more people are going to care now than they would have cared 2 weeks ago. Matthew Tkachuk playing in Florida should be on national television. And you have the built-in story now of Alexander Ovechkin, one guy who was not in this tournament, going for a record that everyone can understand, the goals record of Wayne Gretzky. Build it around the people and the players. They just made themselves stars. Lean into that with the Tkachuks. Lean into that with the Matthews. Lean into that with Ovechkin, who wasn't involved.
Bill, I know you were asking a rhetorical question. We do know the ratings of the Ottawa Senators in the playoffs over the last 7 years. 0, because they haven't made the playoffs in 7 years. Bill Plaschke, around the horn to you.
This was great, but I don't know if it can happen again. This wasn't really about hockey. Let's face it. This was about flag wave. This is about patriotism. This is about country versus country. And I don't know if you can replicate that on any level. That's the sad part. I mean, I don't know how they do it. They do it again every year if they can, but they can't.
Well, the Olympics is every 4 years. There's a World Cup as well. So it wouldn't have to be every other year even. Woody Page, I'll give you the last word on this.
Yes, I sort of disagree with both bills. I think you can do it. You can do it when there isn't a World Cup, when there isn't an Olympics. Why not make it a mini Olympics and bring in more countries and move it around? Have it in Sweden 1 year, in Germany another year, here, Canada. Don't move it between Canada and the United States. But I think the league has to take advantage of this and market the league to the people that they attracted to this tournament. And just as the WNBA grew such a popularity this year, I think the NHL needs to take advantage of this and really capture the rest of the sports audience.
Starts this weekend with the return of hockey. And you have Ovechkin Crosby, the first game out of the gate, and then you have Ovechkin McDavid on a back-to-back on Sunday. That's one way to grow it. We've been Horn, we'll move on. Baseball now. All eyes on spring training and the first looks at the automated ball strike challenge system. Here's yesterday, Cubs-Dodgers. Everybody, oh! There were 2 challenges. One was overturned, one was upheld. They timed out 16 seconds and 19 seconds. So total time of game added, 35 seconds. Plaschke, have you seen enough to say this could work?
I've seen enough. Let's cut to the chase. This does work. It works great, and it needs to be full-time. Let's face it. I never know what says, but we need robo-umps. We need this to be full-time because it works. Stopping it for challenges is silly. When we know that the technology is there, everybody can see the balls and strikes. Use it for every play. Forget this.
There we go. Bill Plaschke, you're calling it over. I love when you do this, Bill. It's already over. We don't even need this trial. We don't need a challenge system. We need full-on every pitch is what Plaschke's arguing.
It works. Do it.
Woody Page, how about you?
Yes, it worked in minor leagues. It's shown it was perfect, if you will. As near perfect as baseball can get in judging balls and strikes. It worked in the fall league. Why do they have to spend a season just testing it out? I think you start it. Bill's right. Start it right now. I watched the game yesterday, the Dodgers and the Cubs. Bill, I'm sure you did too. But the Dodgers told Muncy not to challenge when he went up there, and he did challenge, and guess what? He won the challenge. So I love that. The players have to make the decision there. The catcher made framing a pitch. He made the challenge, even though he framed the pitch and got it.
In
got
today's
it right there. So
Yankees-Rays
I
game, right.
The start
So
of
you
it,
like the
and
challenge.
It's only averaging 17 seconds. It's not delaying the game whatsoever.
Yeah, Donde?
If we're going to have challenges, we need some discretion. Challenging an 0-1 or 0-1 pitch in the first inning? Come on, it's not like it's 3-2 in the bottom of the ninth. You know, I know it changes the dynamics, 0-2 versus 1-1, but still, it's not a decisive play. Like, there should be some greater stakes if you're going to use a challenge.
But you still believe it should be in the challenge system. Remember, Plaschke said, forget it, let's just go all in on automatic balls and strikes.
What are we going to do with the umpires then? Like, I still like that. I like framing pitches. I like that art. I don't want to see that go away.
Safer out.
We got enough AI taking over. Can we have catchers catching and umpires making decisions still?
Bill
Human
Barnwell,
element?
bring you in here.
We spent the last 5 years with Major League Baseball in a panic about how we needed to cut minutes off of baseball games. They were too long. And now we're sitting here and we're adding more time to games.
35 seconds was too much for you in the two yesterday?
How much did they cut off from baseball games? 3-4 minutes in the past? You're adding, 15% of that back on now by adding 30 seconds to
so you
games for
think
what?
it's time?
If it were perfect, I'd say, okay, that's a big addition. But this is still an imperfect system. There's still going to be games where teams are out of challenges and there are still bad
Yes, of
calls.
course.
There are still going to be games
Well,
where
then would it be
catchers
Plaschke's
manipulate the
rule
system.
then to go to robo-umps? Would you abide?
I would prefer that, but that doesn't appear to be an option.
Well, that's basically
Not yet.
dipping the toe.
wait.
But some people are saying, why
Just
you
wait.
dip in?
Jump in.
Jump in, right. One thing I thought about with the whole robo-umps, you would probably have to lose the K-zone completely because that would be
Yeah.
on the TV screen before with the challenge system, I should say. Before you have a chance to challenge, you would already know. That would be interesting. Taking a break, buy or sell
Makes
next.
you faster.
You'd have fans yelling at teams to challenge if they know, right?
Welcome back to Around the Horn, coming to you from above the Heineken River Deck.
NBA, second half starting the same way the first half ended for the Denver Nuggets. 9 straight wins now. Rolled Charlotte last night with Memphis's loss. Denver leapfrogged the Grizzlies to the 2 seed in the Western Conference. And look at Woody Page right here. Feeling strong today, Woody. Say it. Your Nugs are back. How scary are these Nuggets, Woody?
Memo to NBA teams. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
There we go,
They
Woody.
have just moved
Yes.
into second place in the Western Conference, and I know the Oklahoma City Thunder's got to be looking over their shoulders. They're not going to be able to pass them. But Jamal Murray's playing like the playoff Murray has been in the past. He's scored 55 and 34 in 2 of his last 3 games. Michael J. Porter was hurt. He's back out on the field. Westbrook's back out on the court. Jokic is having his best season ever, and they're getting now help off the bench from the younger players.
Jay Adande.
You have to rethink things now, right? The Thunder seemed inevitable into the finals for so long. I know some NBA reporters who had already booked hotel rooms in Oklahoma City for June. But Denver playing the way they are, and the playoff brackets aligning the way they are now, they would meet in the conference finals, a stage that this group of Thunder players hasn't played in yet. I would give the edge to the experienced
Whoa,
Nuggets.
there
in
we
that
go.
Western
All right.
Conference Finals.
Bill Barnwell, around the horn to you.
I would still give the edge to the Thunder, who have been one of the best defenses in NBA history so far this season. But I will point out, Nikola Jokic, to Woody's point, is playing the best basketball of his entire career, averaging a triple-double, more points per game than he's had in any season so far as a pro, best PER of his career. And, oh, by the way, he added a special trick this year. After hitting about 35% of his threes as a pro, up to 45% this year while taking more threes than ever before. Jokic
Bill
has been
Plaschke.
incredible, even by his standards.
Since January 1st, the Nuggets lead the league in offensive rating. They're second in the league in defensive rating, and their point differential is greater than it was in the championship season. They are back. They are here. In Oklahoma City, Jay is right. They haven't been there before. They have to advance in small steps. This may be too big a step for them.
So you are also saying it runs through Denver, not OKC? Is that where you go? So Adande and Plaschke
Yes.
are in agreement there. Buy or sell two. Back to baseball. Justin Verlander is a giant. 262 career wins. Anyone think he makes it to 300?
No way.
Could he be the last to ever get
right.
close to 300 is another question, and that's our topic. The evolution of the starting pitcher, what it's become. In bullpen games, Verlander spoke to USA Today's Bob Nightingale about it. He said he thinks there needs to be rules put in place so starting pitchers go longer, so they don't lose the idea of the starting pitcher. Bill Plaschke, buy or sell?
I'm selling this. I was at all those bullpen games for the Dodgers last World Series, and fans don't care who the winning pitcher is. Fans just care who won. That's the main stat. Who won the game, and everything else is just for the player's resume. Doesn't
Bill
matter.
Barnwell?
When Verlander says he wants to put the genie back in the bottle, he's referring to the baseball he grew up with, many of us grew up with. That baseball is not the ideal version. It doesn't have to be that to be baseball. If we were doing Around the Horn in 1929, 41-year-old Walter Johnson would have given a quote saying, nobody's going to win 400 games again. No one's going to have 38 complete games the way I did in the season. That was true. No one's won 400 games since then. No, the entire league didn't have 38 complete games last year, and it didn't matter. Baseball was still great. It just evolved. Baseball is continuing to evolve, even past what
J.A., I'll
Verlander saw.
turn to you here. Verlander is bemoaning the fact that the starting pitcher isn't what it used to be. No one's going to win 300 games ever again, theoretically. Do you feel that?
I'm buying the sentiment. I'm just not sure he had the solutions. One thing you could do is maybe let's reassess how we credit wins, right? And give more credit. Did you pitch long enough to help put your team in position to win a game? What was the outcome of the game? Rather not, did you qualify
Through 5
to win
innings,
under some
maybe
of those
you pitched.
arbitrary
Okay,
measures?
I
Right.
can get behind that. Woody Page, Around the Horn to you.
Well, I identify with Justin. He's not going to reach 300, and I'm not going to reach 800 on the show. So we both just have to accept it. But I think there should be one rule change by baseball, and that's 3 innings would qualify a starting pitcher. That would be once through the lineup, and I think that would be sufficient. Give them a chance to have more victories.
Standards, man, too low.
Let's move on.
was
Buy or
Walter
sell
Johnson.
3. Most shocking headline from baseball today. The New York Yankees lifting their ban on facial hair. A 99-word statement from Hal Steinbrenner expressing the deep consideration he's put into this. Well-groomed is the rule now, J.A. Buy or sell?
I want to buy this at 1980s prices because that's when they should have rescinded this rule. It made no sense. You saw that picture of Verlander with the beard. You're telling me Verlander couldn't have played for the Yankees because of the facial hair throughout his great career? Please, they should have gotten rid of this rule.
Bill Barnwell?
Yeah, David Price already came out and said I wouldn't have played for the Yankees with my beard earlier in my career. They've also allowed mustaches this whole time. So this weird facial hair policy, if we let facial hair above the lip go, but below the lip, absolutely not, has always seemed illogical to me. It was more
Bill
than time to
Plaschke?
get this off the books.
They need to attract free agents. This is the way to do it. They had to make this change to get better as an organization.
It sounds ridiculous when you say it like that, Bill. But yes, CC Sabathia even said it was almost the point where he wouldn't. Woody Page, how about you?
Well, no offense to the other panelists talking about hair, but it's nice that the Yankees were finally welcomed into the new millennium. And actually, we go back to the 1800s and players were wearing beards. And throughout the early part of baseball, and the Yankees have been wrong, and Bill is right, Bill number 2, that this is a way that players will come to the Yankees.
Wow.
Because they can.
Why am I Bill number 2?
That'll be it for Woody Page and J.A.
Why are we
Adonde.
hair-shaving
Plaschke, Barnwell. Showdown next. Again, before March, I see 4 ranked unranked games on schedule this weekend. I see St. John's UConn that has some heat as well. Order off menu if you like. Bill Plaschke, Bill Barnwell, welcome to Showdown. Twin billing. Pick me a game, give me a bowl guarantee, Plaschke.
St. John's, UConn, the game in the weekend. You can't miss it. St. John's is the best story in basketball right now. Rick Pitino against Danny Hurley. It'll be emotion-filled. It'll be strenuous. It'll be tremendous. St. John's wins by double digits. St. John's is really
Bill
good.
Barnwell.
Michigan State tonight. This is a matchup, of course, intra-state. It's a rivalry. Michigan having a resurgent year after moving on from Juwan Howard, but their team, all transfers. Michigan State's team's homegrown. They've been together for years. I think Michigan State goes to Ann Arbor with that continuity, and they get a victory on the road.
I double billed myself here. I didn't realize that. Plaschke, I'm so tired of your East Coast bias. Always with the East Coast. Every FaceTime, every argument about the East Coast.
Unbelievable. You're unbelievable.
Bardwell,
You're
take a
unbelievable.
FaceTime, please.
There we go. I want to give my props to Zach Martin, the legendary guard for the Cowboys who retired earlier this week. Multi-time bowler, multi-time first-team All-Pro, should be in the Cowboys Ring of Honor in several years. The guy who will put him up there, Jerry Jones, didn't want him on the team. Go back to the 2014 draft. The entire Cowboys organization wanted Zach Martin, but Jerry Jones, no, he wanted Johnny Manziel, the quarterback out of Texas A&M, said if we draft Manziel, we won't go 8-8 every year. What Jerry Jones didn't realize is that if they had drafted Johnny Manziel, they wouldn't be going 8-8 because they would have been going 3-13 and 4-12 for the next several seasons. Zach Martin, great player, happy he got there. Don't let owners make picks. Let your football people make the picks.
I mean, but your owner happens to be your GM, then you're really operating at a different level. Wow, that is a great story, Bill Barnwell. Zach Martin made first-team All-Pro 7 times.
7.
I believe he had 7 holding penalties in his entire career. So the same number of first-team All-Pros as holding penalties in his entire career. That's how you get to Canton. Taking a 71.5-hour break. We'll see you guys Monday.